Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. If I asked you how your day was, I hope the answer is amazing. This is the show about a child who is on 5 hours of sleep and should be in bed. But I had a thought. I've been watching a lot of Jordan Peterson lately. Every time I eat, I would put up one of his podcasts. And there was this thing about vision. Vision as in having a goal, having that idea of where you want to be. And he said, so he has this self-authoring program or something where he just literally gets people to write about the future they want. And so what they do is they'd get a person, take you as the viewer for example, they'd take you, sit you down, tell you to write about where you want to be in 5 or 10 years, and you get full control over what you want to be, right? And a lot of people will agree that you can achieve anything or a large degree of what you want. It's very achievable if you just already put in the work. And so they get you to write about this, and you have full control. By the way, you can say anything. I want to be like this. I want to have these skills. I want to be this XYZ. And the main thing is what he talks about is life is suffering, right? But what can you do with your life? What can you be so that it negates this suffering? I didn't think about the suffering part that much because I suppose it's a truism I've been accustomed to. But it's the idea that you can be literally anything. You can have all the skills, and for most people there isn't that high of a bar. So you can have any skills, just anything. I want to be able to fight, do YouTube, have good relationships, be entertaining. And for most people, what I recognize is they have a blurry vision of what they want to. And this was the same for me. It's I know where I want to be, but it's not very detailed. It's not to the brim. And so I want to use this analogy of let's say you're running a marathon and you don't know where the finish line is. The finish line could be, let's say, I don't know how long a marathon is, 50 kilometers. Is that okay for a marathon? The finish line could be 50 kilometers, 200 kilometers, or 1,000. And you don't know it. It's blurry. So what are the chances of you quitting the marathon when you don't know where the finish line is? It's incredibly high, right? It's why would you run it when you don't know where the bloody finish line is? It's playing darts without the dartboard, without knowing where the dartboard is. It's why even try? And for most people, it's blurry. The dartboard's blurry. The finish line is blurry. And so what I did was, I did what Mr. Big P did, which was I wrote about my vision. I wrote about where I wanted to be, whether it's next year or the year after or in 5 years. And I made it very, very detailed about especially the skills I want to have for YouTube. I want to do computer science probably in university, and how that's gonna affect my ability to do what I want to do. And certain things like being able to provide for my family and retiring my mother. I'm getting even more detailed than that. Who am I going to be making content with? How much subscribers am I going to have? What kind of content am I going to make? What am I going to be like? What kind of humor, whatever. And I go very in depth into this. And so the blurriness of the vision starts getting concrete. The vision starts getting concrete. So now you know where you're heading, right? The dartboard's getting more visible. I can finally see the finish line in the marathon. And just this makes you far less directionless, because I feel before this I had a trajectory, and it was a pretty decent one, but I wasn't very sure of if that trajectory in and of itself is gonna get me to the place I want to be. So I just had a trajectory, not very, very clear direction or how far I need to aim. But now I do. And and you've probably heard this a lot when it comes to goals, how goals need to be smart goals, which is scalable, measurable, attainable, timely, which is basically meaning make the goal as detailed as possible. So say for an exam, you have an exam coming up. A shit goal would be get a good mark on the exam. And it's like what? Like, okay, I'll try, I guess. But then you change it up. Okay, I want 95 for chemistry. I want 95 for physics. 95 is maths. And now by the end of the exam, right? Those are far better goals because now you know. Now you have something to aim for. You can see you can see the dartboard. So that's where you've probably heard that with goals, but like I don't feel people don't take this into account, especially me, because it's like, why should my vision be concrete? And you don't actually know until you try, right? That, and clearly, like, why run a marathon when you can't see the finish line? And what Jordan Peterson talks more about is having two visions. Vision of one when you do everything correctly, or like when you go in the correct direction at least 80% of the time. And another vision where you do everything wrong, when you do everything poorly. And he distinguishes these two as heaven and hell. And heaven being clearly the vision you want, right? Having these relationships, having these skills, having just the best life possible in 10 years or 5 years. And when you start visualizing hell, and by the way, what are you visualizing? I mean, writing this down as well. It's, you can go pretty dark, depends on your trajectory, right? Because right now I'm having a pretty decent trajectory. Like, I'm doing good in school. I'm definitely getting into the course I'm going to do YouTube. Like, I have a decent trajectory, but it's not like 100% sure if I'm going to get to the place I want to be with said trajectory. And what the fuck? My brain is blanked. So yeah, so the hell would be your trajectory right now, how you're going right now, and seeing how this trajectory right now will get you 5 years, 10 years. And for a lot of people, it's probably a bad place because it's a lot to do with distractions. You know, if you watch YouTube all day, if you watch Twitch, TikTok, if all this consuming content, especially if it's entertainment, if it's information, but TikTok doesn't fucking count as information because it's all attention span shit, and maybe even YouTube shorts. It's like, if you're gonna take in information, make sure it's information you want to right now be taking in consciously. Like, you don't cope yourself into thinking some of these outlets give you information where they just entertain, which is shorten your attention span and fuck up your dopamine system. Anyway, like, if you do all this for the next few years, like say you spend 4 hours a day doing some useless shit. Let me get my calculator. 4 hours a day. What's 4 into 365 into 5? Let me do the math real quick. What was it? 4 hours into 365 into 5. You'd be spending 7,300 hours. Imagine that's minimum wage, like $20. Well, to be honest, it's 146,000. But the thing is, you probably, if you were to value your time, it's probably a $50 an hour. And a lot of people will be like, "What the fuck? How is it $50 per hour?" But yeah, it is. It's like, if you think about it rationally, minimum wage isn't like how you should be worthing your time, because there's people that make thousands of dollars an hour, right? So I think 50 is a good number for how you should be valuing your time, because if you value it too low, you wouldn't fucking do anything. You value it too high, it's going to be unrealistic. So 4 into 50 hours into 365, that's $73,000 you're wasting every year. Times that by 5, $400,000 you're wasting 5 years. And a lot of people, no, it's not 4 hours, it's around 6, which puts it up to $110,000 per month. No, not per month, per year, that you are wasting. That could be put into anything. whether it's educating yourself or working on something that you know is gonna work or you want to do. How did I get here? Jesus Christ. Right, hell. Right. So you start visualizing hell. It's where you do all the wrong things. You can't stick to your goals. You can't do shit. And 5 years from now, you're subpar. You're nothing, right? Because as a man, you're judged by what you accomplish, and that's just how the world is. I don't care how you judge yourself, which is, I suppose, through value and integrity. But hard work is a big thing. And yeah, 5 years down the line, the trajectory you have is probably shit. For me, it's a okay trajectory, but it's not gonna get me to financial freedom. It's not gonna retire my mother. It's not gonna give me a safety net to do what I want. It's gonna be miserable. It's gonna be okay. And I'm someone who isn't fine with being average and being okay. It's just, if I have the ability to excel, why not take that opportunity, especially when we're 18, right? We're young. Like, we have the biggest asset ever, which is time. And if you are willing to waste all that time and like start getting your life together in 10 years, then you're a moron. It's like, you have the biggest opportunity at all. Would you rather be rich at 60 or poor at 18? Ask any human being. It's going to be poor at 18 because you have all that time. Even though you ask like an 18-year-old, they might actually like debate it, which is, I suppose there's a rational thinking behind it, but like, that's the thing. So you outline hell and heaven. It's like, oh no, I'm going to be subpar. I'm going to be useless. I'm not going to be in the place I want to be. Now you have something to run away from. This is the hell, by the way. You have something to run away from. And you have something to go towards. And now, every time you make a decision, which you can very clearly see where that decision leads to. Either it's going to be heaven, with all the skills you have, with all the loved ones, with just everything, with everything you just need, which is utopia. And you have the other choice, which is hell, which is being subpar, being lonely, not having the skills, being just nothing, being useless. And I think that's a very interesting concept of seeing it, because I only did the vision thing this morning, like concreting my vision, like even though I was doing everything correctly beforehand. Now every time I'm thinking of spending like 30 extra minutes watching this podcast, it's like, oh no, I got schoolwork to do, right? It's like I'm putting far more weight on my life because I've put in I don't want to bring in responsibility into this. I feel like that's a completely different debate, which is that responsibility is like the anecdote to meaninglessness. That's a different thing. But like, now I know where every decision goes. Whereas, let's say you wanted to waste a bit of time, play a game or something, it's like play an hour a day. You start to recognize, you start to like cope yourself into thinking that there's an hour a day, right? If it's truly an hour a day and you haven't like done it in a while, I'd say it's validated. But if it's a habit that you've been doing for a really long fucking time and you're just coping yourself, it's saying an hour a day, who cares? That shit's gonna compound into years, and you'll be in a position which is like decent, or maybe even worse than decent. Depends on where your values are. Because if you want a decent life, then your trajectory is probably pretty shit, to be honest. Because if you have a good life, like if you have an above average life, you're gonna want a life that is far beyond that. Maybe it's ego, maybe it's pride. Who the fuck? But yeah, what vision do you have? Is it concrete? Because for 99% of people, it isn't concrete. And for the time before this morning, it was not concrete. Like my vision was not concrete. And I think there's only one person I've met who's had a concrete vision that isn't. I've literally only met one other person, and I think it's strange because I put far more weight in every decision I make now, which is insane to think about, because all I did was write something that was in my imagination into like my journal. And now I suddenly weigh my choices more. Like, it's a bit strange. But Jesus Christ, I've been recording for a long time. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Tell me what visions you have. Maybe you have a vague idea. Maybe you can build on this vague idea. And tell me what your heaven and hell is. And I suppose that's it. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.